Good evening and thank you for joining us. COVID-19 case numbers have risen once again in the Thunder Bay area. The District Health Unit confirmed 10 new positive tests today, and unfortunately the virus has claimed another life. Officials at Southbridge Roseview have announced that a 16th resident there has died. The long-term care facility has been the site of a major outbreak for more than a month. There are currently 23 active cases among residents and 7 more involving staff. Increased COVID testing continues to try to contain the spread. The health unit says 3 of the 10 new cases announced today are at Roseview. The other 7 are in the Thunder Bay area. 6 of those were due to close contact, with the exposure for 1 case still pending. The total cases for the district is up to 579, with 84 of those considered active. There are still no cases in hospital. And there is some good news to report regarding the outbreak at the Pioneer Ridge Seniors Home. That outbreak has been declared over. 1 staff member tested positive on December 18th, followed by a 2nd employee soon after. But since then, no other staff or residents have tested positive. Meanwhile, the health unit has now issued a public advisory about 3 recent Air Canada flights to Thunder Bay where people could have been exposed to COVID-19. The first was Air Canada Flight 7932 from Toronto on December 20th. A person who was on that flight has tested positive. Anyone seated in rows 14 to 20 may have been exposed. Another positive case was on Air Canada Jazz Flight 7936 from Toronto on December 21st, impacting rows 18 through 24. And that same Jazz flight the next day also had a positive case, affecting rows 13 to 19. The health unit says the overall exposure risk is low. However, anyone in the affected rows of those flights is asked to carefully monitor themselves and immediately self-isolate if they develop even 1 COVID symptom. They should also contact the health unit and call their local assessment centre to schedule a test. Ontario's 2-day break from vaccinations over Christmas and Boxing Day was met with harsh criticism. Now, the man in charge of the vaccine rollout has admitted that was a mistake and is promising the province will ramp up its efforts. But retired General Rick Hillier also caused some confusion today about whether people should get 1 shot or 2. Rahim Ladani explains.
As Ontario hits another single-day record of COVID-19 cases, the province says it has learned from its mistake and will not take any more vaccination breaks. But retired General Rick Hillier raised eyebrows when he publicly asked Health Canada to look into changing Moderna's 2-dose vaccine.
I would ask Health Canada to relook the Moderna vaccine and see if we can make that a 1-shot vaccine and give us that greater capacity to go out and vaccinate people even faster than we plan on doing now.
Health Canada quickly responded, saying authorization was only given based on 2 doses. And Ontario's Associate Chief Medical Officer of Health says 1 dose doesn't provide full immunity.
The information I have is that with 1 dose, there may be about 80% protection, but we don't know for how long that would last. And the product monograph and the information from the trials that were done by Moderna says that you should have a 2nd dose at 28 days.
Other health experts say the science doesn't support changing the vaccine right now.
I think it's certainly worthwhile to explore those options, but currently the data suggests that you need 2 doses of the vaccine, and all vaccine programs globally are going to stick to 2-dose vaccine series until there's compelling evidence that can be changed. That evidence doesn't exist yet.
The province says that when phase 2 of its vaccine rollout plan begins in April, the goal will be to vaccinate 150,000 Ontarians per day. General Hillier says he's going to recommend priority groups to the government for who should be eligible to get their shot. Essential workers, including teachers, farmers, and police officers, will all be part of the recommendation, as well as people without underlying health conditions outside of long-term care homes.
75 and above, and as soon as we have made significant progress in that age group, we would drop it to 65 to 75 and keep going downwards. And I think we can get to a lot of mainstream Ontario by later July.
Ontario's finance minister is under fire for traveling internationally over the holidays, despite warnings from public health not to do so. Rod Phillips is still out of the country after leaving on December 13th. That's about 2 weeks before Ontario went into a province-wide lockdown on Boxing Day. His office says he will quarantine for the federally mandated 14-day period upon his return. At this point, it's not clear when he'll be coming back to Canada or where he's vacationing. There's still no timeline for the Northwestern Health Unit to receive doses of the newly approved Moderna vaccine, but Medical Officer of Health Dr. Kit Young-Hoon says discussions are underway with community partners to ensure they're ready to begin administering it when it does arrive. Dr. Young-Hoon held a virtual news conference this afternoon. She notes while the Moderna vaccine doesn't have to be stored at the same unforgiving -70 degrees as the Pfizer doses, a freezer is still required. She says a freezer should arrive in the coming days if it hasn't come already, and discussions are underway with health officials across that part of the region.
There's still some planning to be done, mainly with local planning with partners, just to make sure that we are thinking through all the different logistics with respect to distribution and making sure that we are prioritizing appropriately and working with partners with the same goal and intent.
There are currently 19 active cases across the Northwestern Health Unit catchment area. 10 of those are in the town of Rainy River, most of which are related to an outbreak at the Riverview Manor Seniors Complex. There are also 2 others who contracted the virus in the Rainy River District, but who live outside the region, and there are 7 active cases in the Kenora region. A young man from the Greenstone area is lucky to be alive after going missing in the bush for 3 days. On December 23rd, he told people at a gas bar on the Long Lake 58 First Nation that he was heading to Geraldton on a snowmobile. When he failed to return home, a search was launched the next day. The man was finally located on Boxing Day by an OPP helicopter flying over Long Lake. He suffered severe hypothermia and frostbite to his feet. The Canadian Coast Guard icebreaker, the Samuel Risley, has arrived in Thunder Bay to clear the way for incoming and outgoing vessels until the shipping season closes in early January. The Risley will conduct ice-breaking operations for the next 14 days, as up to 7 inches of ice is expected to form inside the breakwall. Port Authority Harbour Master Guy Jarvis says this is a very busy time as they're nearing the end of the navigation season, and a lot more ships are still scheduled to use the Thunder Bay port. The commanding officer of the Risley says ice conditions are still light so far, but they continue to monitor the situation after those frigid temperatures last night.
Well, our main priority when we're here in the fall, or now winter, is actually we monitor the progress of the ice as it forms in the harbors, and we take care of all of the federal responsibility areas for the ice-breaking services.
Approximately 2 more weeks of winter season for navigation. We have 17 vessels that require still to load grain in the port. We have 3 wintering ships that are coming to Kiefer for repair works. So we got a very busy activity for the next 2 weeks. And we need assistance in getting these ships in, because you never know what the weather is going to bring.
Jarvis is also reminding people that no one is allowed to walk on the harbor ice inside the breakwall at any time. The Thunder Bay area is expected to get more snow overnight, which is good news for local snowmobilers. And to excite riders even more, the local Trails Association is beginning to roll out its grooming machines for an early start to the season. Kayla Karim has more.
If there's one outdoor activity that's nearly unaffected by the pandemic, it may be snowmobiling. And local officials are expecting an influx of new riders as a result. Nearly double the normal amount of trail permits have been purchased this year, despite not having the usual visiting riders from south of the border.
The lack of U.S. permits has been taken up by Ontario drivers and maybe Manitoba as well, and even more so because our permit sales are higher than they have been in the last quite a number of years.
Thunder Bay Adventure Trails Director Adrian Tessier says the mild and inconsistent weather over the past month or 2 has posed some challenges.
Isn't a lot of frost. We haven't had a lot of cold weather. We've got open water and swamps. We've got flowing creeks, and those are giving us a lot of grief to get the trails open.
The fleet of 5 groomers will get out earlier than last year, working steady until all trails are ready for sleds. Riders can look forward to the roughly 400 kilometers of groomed trail around the region, which will be up to par with the usual highway-like standards.
Very similar to what they could expect every year. Great trails, low traffic volumes, scenery that you're not going to find anywhere else in the province.
Tessier says some of the trails will be open by this weekend, and he's advising people to download the Ontario Federation of Snowmobilers app to check out the status of the trails. Season permits can be purchased on the Federation's website for $270. Kayla Karim, TBT News.
Thunder Bay and its many landmarks have become the backdrop for a special dance project put together for this year's Superior Theatre Festival. Undercurrents is a series of 6 choreographed video works that were created last summer to help celebrate Thunder Bay's 50th anniversary. Troy Charles has the story.
And there's a flood flowing through the land.
With the pandemic rearing its ugly head, the team behind the Superior Theatre Festival had to call an audible on their planned Undercurrents project. Originally, they set out for choreographed dances to be done live for audiences around Marina Park. The end result ended up being a video series that is now online on the Superior Theatre Festival's YouTube page. Festival director Donna Marie Barata highlighted some of the challenges the crew and dancers faced.
They rehearsed in their garages or their backyards. They weren't allowed in studios. So all of this work was really done in, I think dancers are really good at adapting to environments. They're very used to learning in a small studio and then having to do it in a big stage.
I love the Eastern Tunnel and the cars that rumbled on Victoria Avenue.
The pieces highlight the past 50 years in the city, with each video having local dancers from local dance studios performing to original music from local musicians. The region's Indigenous community is also featured throughout the series, and Barata says over 70 individuals had some hand in putting the project together.
I'm really happy that we were able to accomplish the whole project. And I'm excited by it because more people get to see it. I think that's the thing, is that we want to get it out further. I'm going to send some of them to some dance film festivals and stuff so that Thunder Bay can be, the beauty of the place and the people can be seen at through a wider lens.
I shall rest here for a day. A season. Perhaps forever.
Troy Charles, TBT News.
As we first told you on yesterday's News Hour, a Thunder Bay family was the recipient of quite the gift earlier this month, but it didn't come from Santa. Canadian Tire chose 3 gold prize winners nationwide out of 10,000 applicants to receive a brand new backyard skating rink, which is sure to be the envy of the neighborhood. Corey Nordstrom visited the family today and files this report.
The neighbors had better get used to that sound because they'll be hearing a lot of it. The Thorvaldson Hadley family on Cypress Drive were just one of 3 families across the country chosen as part of Canadian Tire's Operation Puck Drop, receiving this high-tech backyard rink.
I feel very, very grateful and humbled that we were selected as winners.
April Hadley submitted the application on November 12th and heard back 2 weeks later that they were among the gold prize winners. The rink package included having it fully installed, complete with overhead lights, and light up red line and blue lines within the ice itself, as well as a scoreboard. Hadley, who works for the district health unit, says it also included safety precautions that have become increasingly important during the pandemic.
Transmission rates are lower outside. Having a safe space that they can bring their friends over to play within the public health guidelines is amazing. They have lots of friends in the neighborhoods that play hockey, so part of the application was actually, saying the neighborhood impact of what this rink could provide.
Not only does the rink come with all the bells and whistles that aren't typically seen in a backyard rink, but it's about 2 feet by 20 feet larger than the one they usually set up, allowing for them to maintain a physical distance and some extra room for practicing on their skills.
Anytime you can be on the ice and working on new moves or stick handling, and that goes a long way for improving their games. Yeah.
Last year, when the girls had friends over at Christmas time, that our normal sized rink was a little small as they've grown. And Lila, what do you think?
Oh, well, the rink is huge, and it's huge.
Canadian Tire also equipped the family with building supplies to expand the rink as their 2 daughters, aged 11 and 8, continue to grow. Corey Nordstrom, TBT News.
Avery, something tells me that the weather is going to hold out for that family. They're going to get a lot of use out of that rink throughout the winter.
They are